When I told friends I was planning to visit Monaco and Cannes, the reaction surprised me. Don't bother, it's too expensive. There's nothing there. But travel has taught me that the places people warn you about are often the ones that surprise you the most. So I'm going to share my thoughts about Monaco and Cannes and why I enjoyed them far more than I expected. I started with a trip to Monaco, taking the train from nearby Monte. This has to be one of the loveliest railway lines in Europe. And I made the very most of it with my Sud Azur train pass, which gave me unlimited travel for a week. Monaco's train station was very clean and modern, and it really felt like an adventure arriving here. I knew Monaco was likely to be expensive. One look at the shops and the price of a margherita pizza quickly told me all I needed to know. So I grabbed some delicious things from a bakery. This would enable me to keep moving and see as much as I could in my one day here, as well as save a bit of money. I walked through the La Condamine district to the colourful market. From here you cross the road and start the ascent of Rocher. But just be aware that there is a strict dress code in Monaco, and you can actually be fined for going barefoot in the city. Rocher, or the Rock, is where you'll find the old town and the Prince's Palace. It's an easy climb, and the first glimpse of the palace makes it all very exciting. As do the iconic views across the port towards Monte Carlo and along the glorious French coast. Albert II is the current prince, and his father, Rainier III, was perhaps most famous for having married Hollywood actress Grace Kelly in 1956. Monaco adored its princess, and there are many lovely photos of her around the principality. This is one of the stops for the hop-on, hop-off bus if you're a bit short of time or energy. But I found Monaco a real delight to walk around, and you're afforded the very best views on foot, I think. I popped into an antique shop near the palace, where I bumped into Grace Kelly again. And you might just recognise her co-star Cary Grant from the film they starred in together, which was filmed on the French Riviera, To Catch a Thief. You'll also find some very expensive pieces inspired by Princess Grace in the palace gift shop. I would have loved to have seen inside the palace, but it was closed as there was work going on. But I timed my visit to see something else rather wonderful, the changing of the guards. Quite a crowd had gathered for the midday spectacle, and the expectant hush was wonderful. The Prince's Carabinieri was created in 1817, and they're responsible for ensuring the safety of the Prince and his family, enforcing law and maintaining public order. Today they were in their white uniform, but there's also a black one depending on the season. From the palace, I walked towards the coast, passing Porte du Fontvieille with its modern flats. And you'll need a fair few million euros if you want to buy one. It's a lovely walk to the Jardins Botanique, with more stunning views of the coast. and a sneaky view into the grounds of the Oceanography Museum, where you may just spot a turtle in one of their care centres. The gardens here are beautifully maintained and the perfect place to rest and have a little picnic lunch. And if you're lucky, spot some wildlife. There are also many statues, including one of Princess Grace. Monaco's cathedral overlooks the gardens. This is definitely the place to be seen, and it can get a little crowded, but the cathedral is free to enter, and I was keen to see the place where Grace Kelly married her prince in April 1956. It's estimated that around 30 million people watched the wedding, and actors Cary Grant and David Niven were amongst the congregation. Tourists are funneled around the perimeter, passing the resting place of Princess Grace and Prince Rainier. And it's sobering to remember that the princess was just 52 when she died in a tragic car accident. From the cathedral, you can walk into the old town with its characterful narrow streets. I discovered the beautiful Chapel of Mercy. And then walked past the Oceanography Museum. And some very fancy shops. There's also fabulous views across Port Hercule from here, and that classic view of Monte Carlo, which is where I was heading next. I made my way to the marina, enjoying the sight of all the beautiful boats and the view back to the palace. This is where you can catch the Bateau Bus, which crosses the harbour, saving yourself a bit of a walk and getting some fabulous views, all for just €2. Monaco's Yacht Club is a seriously impressive building. Founded in 1953 by Prince Rainier, it has 2,500 very wealthy members. A tunnelled walkway took me to the tranquil Japanese garden. Before I walked around one of the most famous hairpin bends in the world. My way to perhaps the most famous building in Monaco. Monte Carlo's casino was built in the 1860s in the Belle Epoque style. You can enter the foyer for free, but you'll need to show your passport to enter the first games room. And there's a fee if you want to see beyond that. Just across the road, you'll find the lovely casino gardens, the perfect place to reflect on all you've seen and enjoyed on your day trip to Monaco. But don't rest just yet, because I'm taking you to another exciting and glamorous city on the French Riviera, Cannes. The Palais de Festival was the first place I wanted to see, and it was exciting to be able to walk up the famous steps, as so many of my favourite actors have done over the years during the Cannes Film Festival held each May. Then it was time to spot the stars, or at least their handprints, along the Walk of Fame. It's so much fun spotting your favourite actors' names here, How many do you recognise? And which one has been featured twice? Leave me a comment if you spot it. I walked onto the harbour and would have loved to have walked further into the old town, but I didn't have time that day, so I enjoyed the markets instead. The antiques market was a rainbow array of jewellery, art, glass, hats and handbags. There was more star spotting to do as I walked to the beach. The prices along here are expensive, but the main beach is free and is wonderfully sandy with plenty of space at this time of year. I took a walk down the famous La Croisette, the palm tree lined walkway where you'll find all the designer shops and some very posh hotels. There was a wedding about to start on the beach when I visited, and the guests were arriving from the very hotel I'd come to see, the Carlton. Built in the early 1900s, this is where Grace Kelly and Cary Grant stayed during the filming of Alfred Hitchcock's To Catch a Thief. And many scenes from the film were shot here, so you may recognise the grand foyer. This is the perfect place to have a drink, celebrate a birthday, or just watch the world go by. And I have a confession, I was a little bit naughty here and sneaked up in the lift to take a look around. The 6th floor was my destination as it's home to something rather special, the Alfred Hitchcock suite, commemorating the 1955 film shot here. Some places are judged long before you arrive, and Monaco and Cannes weren't places I expected to love, but I had 2 fabulous days exploring them both. I loved following in the footsteps of Grace Kelly and feeling a little of that old movie magic, as well as seeing how the other half live. So don't be put off if somebody tells you not to visit somewhere. I think we all have to make up our own minds, don't we? Thank you so much for watching. Do please like and subscribe to join me on future adventures. I'd love to have your company.